You've served from Vietnam to the Trump White House, and which experience shaped you most for your current role?
I was a dumb second lieutenant in Vietnam, and then later I worked special operations, but I did things in special operations that even apply today to what I was doing today. You know, for example, I did what we called at that time cross-border operations, where we were precluded by law from doing some of the stuff we did. And I used to tell them, well, on my map, I never saw the border. I just did what I was told to do. But it's those kind of, the lessons learned, sometimes you have to make those expedient lessons and what they are. And you just put them into your kit bag that over time you develop and you say, this is what I remember back then and when. So I think it's just been a build for me over time. I learned things from the Vietnam War. And a lot of it is in decision making. I mean, and today I made the comment, I learned from some political things what even President Nixon did during the Paris peace talks. That's when I talk about risk. And I said what he did, and I had already served 2 combat tours when during North Vietnam walked away from the peace talks. So he said, I'm going to bomb Hanoi into the dirt. And we sent B-52s over Hanoi. I mean, and everybody had told him at the time, you do that, the war's going to go on. He said, I don't care. So I said, okay, put that one back here in your mind. That's an acceptance of risk, what you're willing to do. And you can historically mark your way along the line, those kind of things that are good. And I can tell people, I've told this to President Trump as well, sir, sometimes you have to accept risk. Sometimes you don't like it, but it'll work. And you've done it. And I've told him, sir, you've done that. I've been with you before when people told you, I was in the room when people told you that you were going to start a 3rd Intifada or you start another Mideast war, or this was going to happen, and you didn't care. I mean, you cared, but you said, nope, I'm going to trust my instinct. And said, just do it this time too. Trust your instincts, raise the level.
Mike Pence told the BBC this week that if President Putin succeeds with Russia's war in Ukraine, it'll only be a matter of time before he crosses the border of NATO country. Do you agree with him?
Putin's not going to go there. Putin, I think, is a realist, and you raise the stakes, he's going to fold. 4 years ago, we had trouble getting people to agree that they were going to meet their obligations under the Wales Declaration of 2.5% of their defense GDP was going to be in defense. Of that, 20% was modernization. They weren't going to go there. Now they're going to 5%. I think the whole attitude has changed. They recently met in The Hague, came out with good decisions. So I think that relationship has changed, plus the leaders have changed. I think now, be it Starmer or be it Merz, being Tusk, they all see Russia as an existential threat. Years ago, they didn't see it as a threat. You get dangerous when you start bluffing, because to me, somebody's going to call your bluff one of these days, and you better back it up with hard power. And Putin says that because it scares people off. You know, I'm a nuclear power, so what? You know, when you look at, we've got 3 on our side, the French, the Brits, and the US. And my point was, fine, you don't want to go down that path.
I recently wrote a comment article in which I pointed out that President Trump has, in recent months, issued no less than 4 2-week deadlines to Russia, stating or implying major measures against them, including more sanctions if they did not seek a peace deal with Ukraine. Each of these deadlines has passed with no response. So can you see why Ukraine and other Western countries are frustrated by this? And do you think this means the president's unwanted TACO nickname, TACO, Trump always chickens out, is in fact a fair one?
I think he's pretty aggravated because he thought that the relationship, the personal level relationship, would get us to an end state. I think he realized, I believe he has, that Putin's kind of playing him along. And I think that's where his aggravation level is right now. But my frustration is they act like politicians. What I mean by that is when you get right to the edge, when it comes right to it, are you going to fold? You're going to go for the throat. My experience is go right for the throat. That's how you do it. In Washington, D.C., they become politicians. Well, move this a little bit further to the right, move it further to the right. And I've called them out on it. I made a comment to a couple of our prominent senators. I said, you know, a former American president wrote a book called Profiles in Courage. And in that book, he took 6 or 8 senators And he said these were profiles in courage where they made decisions that they knew were going to affect them politically in their future. Okay, and Kennedy found them and wrote about them. Wrote a good book. I can't find a single senator right now that would fit any book in Profiles of Courage. Can't do it. I just can't. And I've called him out on it. I've told him that. I said, you know, you would not fit this book into this book. And I think what happens is either they're too concerned about their political roles and what they're doing, or there's something about them that when the time comes to stand and deliver, that it is, you know, you're right on the precipice. Do you have the guts to stand and deliver? And I think in Washington, my experience is there's a whole lot of people out there who, when the time comes, will not stand and deliver.
Do you think it's possible to deliver a peace deal that respects Ukrainian sovereignty while forever deterring Russia?
It's going to be really hard because even if it's a peace, you're going to have a ceasefire. You have to stop shooting. That's a ceasefire. Putin knows that if he goes to a ceasefire, once the shooting stops, it's going to be really hard to restart it again. So my preference is always a ceasefire, but President Trump would like to go to a peace deal first. That's going to be hard to get to. Putin doesn't want to go there yet. Putin thinks he can win militarily. I don't think he can. I think you need to look at risks now, where you want to be with risk. And what I mean by that is, in our last with Niall, I made the comment that said, look, told President Trump this, so I've been with you when we were raising the risk levels and people told you not to do it. I've been in the room with you when they told you not to do it, and you did it anyway, because you played by your instincts. You knew the instincts were so important. And I think they need to do that. And where I would go today, I'd go after a shadow fleet. I would take your shadow fleet off the seas. And they've all been sanctioned, and you can do that. And if that because then you hit him economically. All right, you can do it. You can actually bottle up the Baltic Sea, and where 70% of the fleet comes from, and make it a real problem. He will react to that, and I know he'll react to that because Estonia recently took a sanctioned ship off the water, and the Russians put a MiG above it right away. So we know it gets their attention, and that's what I would do.
Do you think Ukraine giving up some of its territory to Russian occupation is inevitable at this point?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to close in and close out Donetsk. Luhansk has got the northern oblast is about 98%. They've got about 65% of Donetsk. I think they're trying to close that out. I think they've got Kherson and Zaporizhia as well. And of course, Crimea is a little bit of the outlier down south, where they're at 100%. And I think the push, hard right now is in Donetsk. I think they want to get all of Donetsk, all of Luhansk, and then move on to Kherson and Zaporizhia as well. But the Ukrainians are giving up only inch by inch. It's going to take them a long time if they want to do it, and the casualties are going to be enormous. We had a famous politician, and he once said, Will Rogers, when he said, "Don't give up land, God don't make no more," okay? The point is, don't give up land if you don't have to. So my point was, I think anytime you do that, it's a mistake to do it. I don't think, because once you retrench, it's really hard to go back the other way. And we're seeing that happen with China, what they're doing, what have their encroachment in places. So we see it. Trump sees it right away. And that's the reason why you see us operating so aggressively in South America, Latin America. I see this conflict here in Ukraine. There's a moral part of this conflict I think people miss. It's good versus evil. And you have to look at it that way. I mean, Putin is not a good guy. Okay, and what he has done is some of the things he has done has been absolutely atrocious. It's horrific. And I like to think I've kept the faith, you know, in belief in my nation, belief in the goodness of my nation, serving the nation, and then continue to serve it and hopefully do the best of my ability to help out. I would like, and if we come out of this as a better, if Ukraine comes out of this in a good shape, and I think it will, maybe there's some hiccups along the way. If that's good, then I can sit and rest easy and say, there's a saying in America, have you fought the good fight? And I say, yeah, That's where I want to be.
Russia objected to your role as envoy. Do you see that as proof you're doing something right or as an impediment?
Kind of a compliment to me that the Russians kind of objected to me even being even close to the issue. But that's fine with me. I don't care. You can't ignore Russia as a country, the sheer size of it. So you're just going to have to accept the fact of what it's like, what it's going to be like going into the future. And it depends. They get to make their call. What are you doing to make yourself rejoin the League of Good Nations? It's going to be up to them. Otherwise, they're going to continue to be a pariah state.